And the award for worst video presentation ever goes to me. Thank you. I've been working on it for quite a long time, about a year and a bit now. So I want to discuss the plan changes that are coming over to Patreon based on some of the feedback that we've got. And also, these aren't also set in stone. I should point out, these are what I'm planning to hopefully go ahead with starting in February based on feedback, based on just sort of testing some things, really. If it turns out to be terrible, no reason we can't go back to the way it was the month before. It's hopefully going to give you guys a lot more than it takes away, but it does take away some things, so caveat emptor and all that. We're going to start off with this side here. So your left-hand side is the way things currently are as they stand. Then on the right-hand side are planned additions and subtractions from that list. The reason we're doing it in Notepad is so I can directly compare it line by line. So starting off then at the $1 tier, nothing changes, because I think that's fine. The $1 Patreon tier is just there just for... You know, it's just there. It's just $1 pay. They make you do it. To be honest, I'd have one anyway, because it's just a nice little tier to be like, hey, I like that Mr. Streamer funny video that he did. Here's $1. That's great. That all adds up eventually. And I think it would be kind of shooting yourself in the foot not to have one. So we got a $1 tier. It doesn't really do anything. You get access to the Patreon behind the scenes content in the series vote. So you got that going for you. There's not a huge amount of behind the scenes content, which is actually something I want to discuss towards the end of the video. Now we're just going to do a breakdown, but there is going to be some changes coming with that as well. So then we've got the second tier, Piggy the Dragon. I feel like also I should mention that I'm planning on restructuring them. Who remembers Piggy the Dragon? The answer is nobody, because even I don't actually. What fucking series was Piggy the Dragon from? I don't even know. Then we've got Everchosen, Rhino, which I assume is the Filka Rhino, and then Elrang. I mean, that's still fairly obvious. These were actually the first few series we ever did on the channel, weren't they? So I feel like I might change the names to, I hate to say the obvious, you know, Count, Duke, King, Emperor. I hate that because it's very much overdone, but we might think of something else that's equally as clever or terrible, depending on your perspective here. Piggy the Dragon is actually the first tier change we've got then. So I'm actually removing the name of Castle City Temple, mainly because nobody really did it, and even if we do it, it's so unimpactful, really. It doesn't have any impact on the game whatsoever, and it's so rare that we'll actually see it. And more to the point, if everybody took advantage of that, we would not have enough castle cities and temples to last us. So that one is going to be dropped, as denoted by the hashes are dropped, but the pluses, those are things that we're adding on to things here. So we are going to add, or I'm going to add to the $3 a month tier, RimWorld Raider name added to the list. I would love to give everybody at the $3 tier a colonist name, but to be honest, in any RimWorld series, I rarely go for just numbers. I rarely go for a huge amount of characters. I rarely go for enough colonists to guarantee everybody a name. So I thought with the Raiders, we could just add them to the database and then have your character turn up and kill me dead, or turn up with a trade caravan, I believe, potentially, depending on what mod I use or what system I use to implement this. Much add it straight into like an XML file with just a whole list of names that the game can pull from. I could have closed Discord. You unprofessional person. He says looking at Notepad++. Everchosen tier then. If we just take a look at this one, the changes again is I'm planning on changing the $5 tier on Everchosen to name a province and a house, rather than just simply name a province. Again, name a province, completely unimpactful, does nothing to the gameplay. And I found that when people were taking advantage of this, we ended up with the same provinces in every single series, and it got a bit homogenous towards the end. So not that, you know, people can't do it now. That's still very much an option, but people aren't capitalizing it. And even when they did, it just felt a little bit weird to have the same provinces in every single series. So instead, name a province. That's still an opportunity. Might remove that bit, but I'm lowering the house down a tier so that you can name a house CK2, because as with CK2, particularly towards the end of series, we generally have so many spare lands to give away, so many spare houses. As we saw at the end of the Battle Grandma series, I mean, it was what, like maybe 10 patron houses made it all the way to the end? So there are always plenty of room for these, especially in CK2. Then I've also added to this tier the RimWorld Colonist name, so $5 and up. Now, I still don't think there will ever be enough colonists to go around for everybody. So I think the system that we'd have to do the first for this one is trip me a name, and then we'll rotate them out between series. So maybe do like a first come first serve style thing, and then work our way through the list. And then if you don't get your name in that series, we'll put it at the top of the list for the next one, if that makes sense. Again, I'm not really sure how exactly I'm going to implement some of these. It's just a rough plan to sort of explain to you guys what we are looking at doing. I say we as if it's just me. It is just me. I don't have a channel manager, obviously. You can probably tell from the screen. Besides that, the big change, and this is the thing I really want to discuss here, is the shout-out list. So I've explained this a couple of times on various different platforms and various different levels of detail, but basically the episodes are getting a pretty significant drop-off rate. So towards the end of videos, it's like a 75% drop-off rate around 90% of the way through the video, which leaves a good, I mean, depending on the length of the video, that can leave quite a few minutes of actual content. Then beyond that, it's a 95% drop-off rate in the last 5% of the video. Like, it's fairly substantial. Well, it's in the last 5 minutes, so depending if that's a 30-minute video or not, we're looking at quite a sizable proportion. That, I think, is almost entirely down to the shout-out list. There are a lot of different implications about that. Specifically, the big things I'm concerned about are playlists, so people coming back and watching these are going to have to sit through, potentially hours of Patreon shout-outs, and that's not even too much of a joke. If I'm doing 5 minutes at the end of each episode, and there are 30 minutes or 30 episodes in a series, I mean, look at the RimWorld Androids one, there's 45 episodes in that. 45 times 5, that's a lot of minutes. So realistically, for people on playlists, I feel like it definitely is putting those off, but YouTube has some very strange algorithms going on. I'm sure we've all heard the rumors and can only speculate on what exactly that is about, but YouTube very much like to protect their secrets to some extent. It will have an impact. This is guaranteed that it will have an impact on video recommendations. If YouTube are looking at my channel and saying, hang on a minute, the last 10% of every single one of this guy's videos aren't being watched, why is that? There's clearly something fishy going on there. They don't care about the context of it. You know, they don't care how everybody watched the rest of the video and then dropped off at the end at the same time. That's not important. What is important is 10% of the videos are going unwatched, which is quite a sizable amount of content when you add it up over the amount of videos that we do. So, again, me. That is something I want to change. So, I was thinking, to start off with, that, and I've actually tried this on the last few episodes, is doing a rolling shout-out list. So I've got a very, very basic somewhere here, a very basic plugin which allows me to randomize lists in Notepad++. So I import the Patreon list into this in a CSV format, randomize it, read the names off as they come up, if that makes sense. So that way, every episode I'm doing, say, 15 people, you still get a shout-out at least once every well, technically like twice or 3 times every 4 days, because of course we do 2 to 3 videos a day, and if I'm doing 15 names per video, that's going to be, you know, potentially up to 6 times a week, depending on if you get lucky or not with the randomization. So that's still a significant amount, I would say. It's definitely more than a lot of other channels do for Patreon shoutouts, but it's still a massive cut down from what we're doing already. We're talking like only a minute or 2, rather than the 5 minutes of rambling that was there previously. Hopefully it will encourage people to stay on, watch the playlist through a little bit more. Again, I don't care about YouTube analytics. I did say this in Discord, that I don't really care about YouTube analytics, because realistically we are Patreon funded, but if the videos are being repressed, and if less people are seeing the videos, that just kind of feels bad, especially given that 95% or even higher, I don't know the actual numbers off the top here, and I don't think I'm allowed to share them anyway. I'll have to look into that, because I'll be interested to paste those up so people see exactly what I'm talking about. When nobody's watching it anyway, and then it's also impacting the channel, it's just kind of like a lose-lose. So that's why I particularly want to redo that one. But to make up for it, that's why I'm also trying to add these other little rewards to the tiers, like the colonist names, which I've basically been doing anyway, but sort of getting it set in stone so that people know that's an option. Province names as well. Then this one is where I'm adding something new, based on some little mod tools that I put together for sort of directional mod tools, directional as in like directing a movie or whatever. Directional mod tools for CK2 is that being able to generate characters based on what you guys want to see. So I've added to this one, name a duchy and a house founder, rather than just a duchy and a house, to differentiate from the previous ever chosen tier that's essentially also taken on that house. This tier will get a house founder, which is a character that you can name, come up with a backstory with, whatever. I will try and keep them as balanced as possible, so I don't want to be adding, like, please don't say, Mr. Streamer, my house founder is a guy with 400 personal combat, he's strong and powerful and genius and very sexy and all the ladies like him. That's not going to happen, realistically, because it will just affect the balance of the game if all of our vassals are obviously incredibly powerful. Or I could land them outside the realm as super powerful vassals. That could be kind of interesting. I just never considered that. So maybe I'll make that an option, like a super powerful character outside of the realm, or even then it could affect balance, but it's difficulty against me, which I think is kind of only a good thing at this stage, huh? And then you also get, with this tier, a RimWorld colonist name, same as the previous tier, but obviously differentiate from the rated tier from whatever this one is. Sorry, I don't even know the own tiers, because they are just terribly named, aren't they? Which is why I want to switch that around. Then for the outranked tier, nothing. I haven't changed anything about that, because that gets access to all of the previous rewards, so you're already getting bonuses from the other ones. But also, that was only ever intended as a one-off thing. You know, maybe people want to give a one-off tip or whatever else. I wasn't expecting people to actually back at that tier when I set it up, and people have. So I want to do more. Moving on. So that's basically the changes, right? So the big one is definitely going to be the shout out list. That's going to be the big thing that affects every single episode. I can only see it as a positive, but I can understand why some people might be a little bit upset about that, particularly those of you with the funny names. So let me know what your feedback on that is. I want to know whether you're hypercritical of that or fine with it or otherwise. The other thing I want to change as well is that I'm advertising on every single one of these, the behind-the-scenes content. To be realistic, there isn't a huge amount of behind-the-scenes content because of spoilers. And that seems like a weird thing to say, but when I'm building these mods for these series, or building the mod packs for series and Rimworld series and whatever, I don't want to spoil what I'm doing. And I can't post an unlisted YouTube video, because of course unlisted YouTube videos, anybody can watch if they've got the link, so there's a chance that could get out. Not that I'm too bothered about it, obviously. I just don't want to spoil things. I like things being a surprise, particularly when we do weird series or funny series, or, I mean, look at the last series we did with Battle Grandma. That was a completely unexpected breakout series, which, if word got out, hey, someone else might beat me to it. Again, not that I really care that much, it's just an example. But I didn't want to spoil it, and that's why I'm finding it very difficult to share when I'm, making mods for the series, when I'm building mod packs, planning things like that. And there's also very little behind-the-scenes stuff to show in terms of editing, because I've already got everything down to a fine art. Like, I've got literally like 6 or 7 Photoshop macros that essentially make my thumbnails for me now. Same thing sort of with Premiere as well. There's very little behind-the-scenes stuff to actually show, because it's genuinely just like clockwork for me now, and it kind of has to be when you're doing 3 edited videos a day, huh? So behind the scenes content, I actually want to adjust. Now, I did briefly tease this, but why don't we... So one thing I talked about with the mods was potentially doing maybe every other week, or I don't want to say weekly, because that seems like a commitment that I would be worried that I wouldn't be able to meet, particularly if something comes up. Especially in, like, say, January, for example, super busy because of taxes and all that other crap that you have to do at the end of the business year if you are a YouTuber. So I'm thinking bi-monthly multiplayer game sessions, whether that is something like CK2, seems like the obvious one. Unfortunately, it's massively unstable, so good luck with that. Whether that is just playing some sort of online game, some sort of lightweight online game, and everyone can come and join in with that. I know a lot of people in the Discord at one stage were playing, like, Poke MMO, which would be fine to just jump into and have a bit of fun for maybe just a stream or something like that. Get some people on board with that one. But a big multiplayer CK2 game is sort of where I'm heading with this. Now, with that, I would definitely maybe add to the higher tiers, and this is what I'm talking about, behind-the-scenes content is everybody here, saying that patrons would get first places in that, because, of course, if I open it to the public, it would probably fill up in all of about 2 seconds. So I think I would go for, like, Patron, maybe get the first places, maybe let me know in advance, then we'll say, like, 10 minutes, then we'll open it up to the floodgates to the general public, so that way everyone should be able to get their place. I'm not sure how ethically sound that is. Paradox might have some issues with something like that, but again, that's just an example. I'm not saying that will be, we're not going to have like community-gated CK2 games or anything like that. That's ridiculous. But for multiplayer games in particular, might be good to get some games going like that, as sort of a Patreon get first entrance type of thing. I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with that, because again, there are some sort of maybe ethical qualms with that one, and developers might get a bit angry at me for doing things like that, understandably, hence why I'm bringing it up. So that's what I've got planned for the timing. I definitely think the changes, particularly the House Founder one, the Rimworld Colonist being set in stone, obviously the Raiders, I think that's kind of fun little changes where you get to see more dynamic stuff showing up in the videos, less of the, and I mean, quite frankly, the numbers speak for themselves, boring stuff at the end of videos. I really like the idea of doing the shout list every episode, but nobody's watching it, and it might be impacting the channel, especially, like I said, playlists, so it's certainly impacting playlists. So just something to consider there. Again, this is kind of a debate up for discussion. This is what I'm planning right now, but based on your feedback, I'll make me some adjustments. I'm going to be putting this into effect, setting it in stone for the month of February. So if you hate everything I've done here, you have time to obviously go ahead and cancel your Patreon pledge and whatever else. But hopefully, all round, it will just make things a nicer experience. So we're going to leave that one there. Let me know what you think. This is just going up on the second channel anyway. So I'll check the comment section. Message me on Discord. Just start a discussion in Discord if you feel like it. Send me a message on Patreon privately. Start a Patreon post. Wherever you want to discuss it. I'm all ears everywhere. Honestly, the more coverage, the better. So let's have a chat. See what we can do.